hinged on the shoulders of Mr. Apia Kubi, Honorable Member of Parliament, who was the lead person, the spokesperson for these 80 MPs who wanted Ken Ofori-Atta out of office. That is the matter, the crucible that is being that was investigated, whether there was a bribe to get these guys out of office. Now, to get Ken Ofori-Atta out of office, the bribe essentially to get them to back off. Now, the OSP's conclusion is that he cannot institute criminal proceedings because the anchor man who is supposed to be providing him with evidential value has decided to invoke his right to remain silent. So he will not mention the alleged businessman, the wealthy businessman. He wouldn't mention his name. He wouldn't give any further details, even though initially he spoke about the encounter, the meeting with the 80 MPs where this bribe was supposed to have been offered. So under the circumstances, even though the OSP can treat him as a hostile witness, can subpoena him in court to give evidence, he has decided not to continue because Andy Apia Kubi has invoked his right to remain silent.
And the OSP makes mention of the fact that it knows that it can't subpoena the said businessman. But why is it not doing that?
Because the man he can come to court and invoke his right of silence. In that case, that would be a waste of resources, would be a waste of funds. And he's saying that he will still keep tabs on that if anything changes. And Andy Apia Kubi changes his mind, or HMS Sambos is also mentioned, even though he's of little consequence in this matter. He said he didn't know about the said meeting. But the man who admitted to went on radio, spoke about the fact that he was in that meeting, a wealthy businessman came there with money to bribe them. He has decided that he will remain silent, invoke his right to remain silent. He can be subpoenaed to court.
So what is this? Another fruitless
wild goose chase, if you like.
Yes.
And it all hinges on the person who made that allegation. And of course, he commends Occupy Ghana for the public spiritedness and getting him to look into this. But the one he was counting on to pin or to build his evidence around for possible criminal prosecution has failed him. He says,
have we heard from Occupy Ghana yet?
We have not heard from them yet. This is breaking news. It came in less than 10 minutes ago.
Indeed.
And so the story is developing still.
Indeed. I do want us to, take us back into time for those who are hearing this for the first time. How did we get to this point?
Well, so in September 2022, a group of members of parliament, Andy Apia Kubi, of course, becoming main spokesperson. Another person who really spoke for that group is MP for Subin, that is Eugene Boachiempi. These gentlemen led a group of MPs, 80 of them were supposed to have signed that petition, asking President Akufo-Addo to ask his cousin Ken Ofori-Atta as finance minister because he had become an albatross around the neck of the government. He said he was not going to go to the IMF. He had taken the country to the IMF. Releases, District Assembly Common Fund, statutory fund releases were not going as this. And to them, Ken Ofori-Atta was leading the country the wrong way as the Minister of Finance, and therefore he had to go. It is out of this that we are told that this businessman appeared in Parliament, asked for a meeting with them, and was willing to offer them monies to back down on this call. Remember that the president met these 80 MPs, and after that they came to the conclusion that Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta should be allowed to see through the IMF process, which had then begun, to the point that we got that extended credit facility, which we are now going through, of which he's still the finance minister until Ken Ofori-Atta still remains in office. So this is the fruit. Based on that, Occupy Ghana decided to petition the Office of the Special Prosecutor to look at that because these allegations of bribery and possible corruption.
But Duke, what is also telling is the fact that the OSP comes to the conclusion that indeed Mr. ABC, that businessman whose name is redacted in the report, had attempted to bribe Parliament. What does it say really about our parliamentarians?
The name of the game is evidence, and so we hear all sorts of things about people, especially during vettings, and how people in a number of years ago, 5 years ago, we heard about the Ejako scandal, where he's allegedly supposed to have paid bribes to members of the appointments committee to get him approved. All of these things go on. By the end of the day, pinpoint evidence. Okudzeto Ablakwa, remember how he resigned from the appointments committee, alleging all sorts of things. These allegations come up time and time again. But at the end of the day, pinpoint, point blank, evidential value to be able to prosecute. That is what always seems to be missing.
One person we haven't named is Osei Mensah, majority leader, who was also identified in this report because he granted that interview as well. The OSP mentioned in the report about how he may not be necessarily helpful to the process. What exactly was he saying there?
Because he was interviewed and he said he didn't know about the said meeting, and he didn't know about, of course he knows about the fact that 80 of his colleagues had decided to go on this break ranks with the majority group and go on this tangent of getting the finance minister out, an action unprecedented in our political history. But he said he did not know of this meeting that had been arranged and allegations of bribes being offered at that said meeting.
Wild goose chase, you said, and it would seem so. Thank you so much for joining us here, Duke Mensah.
Pleasure is mine.
There, he's been sharing with us the latest report from the OSP breaking this hour that he no longer can pursue the case about a businessman who attempted to bribe 80 members of parliament on the side of the NPP. Now, notes from the report that the OSP has shared today, it appears from the OSP's gathered intelligence that a wealthy businessman did, in fact, attempt to offer money to a section of the majority caucus. It also appears that the monetary offer was rejected. And the report also goes on to say that the OSP is almost convinced that the said businessman whose name is redacted, which is why you see Mr. XSS on your screen, is the businessman who attempted to offer a bribe to a section of the majority caucus, telling us that they have indeed identified the said businessman, but the name has been redacted. The reason for the reduction is for security reasons. Mr. Piakubi's refusal to cooperate with the investigation, his refusal to testify and to disclose the identity of the suspect are most regrettable. Mr. Piakubi is the person who granted the interview where he made the allegation that such an attempt had been made on the NPP MPs. But what we hear now is that investigation cannot be carried out. No prosecution can be carried out because Apia Kubi would no longer cooperate with them. That's the breaking news coming in.
Well, staying on the frontiers of investigation, because hasten slowly, that's the caution from civil society group's audit firm, KPMG, after the latter was directed by the president to begin an audit of GRA's contract with Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, SML. President Akufo-Addo has set a 2-week timeline to which KPMG must scrutinize a controversial revenue assurance agreement following an investigative piece by the Fourth Estate detailing wrongs captured in the report. Per the president's directive, KPMG is to, amongst many things, assess the appropriateness of the contracting methodology and evaluates the benefit SML has offered the Ghana Revenue Authority. Additionally, both GRA and the Finance Ministry are to suspend the contract with SML. There are, however, those who are questioning the timing of the president's intervention and the entity tasked to carry out the audit. We'll get into that shortly, but let's walk you through a timeline, really, of events in relation to SML since it broke. And so the 18th of December of last year, 2023, that's when that Fourth Estate story made its way into the mainstream media. On that same day, the 18th of December, the Office of the Special Prosecutor was petitioned by the Fourth Estate. And then the following day, the 19th of December 2023, SML releases a statement dismissing the claims. The 20th of December 2023, the Ghana Revenue Authority issues a statement of their own backing the deal. Then on the 22nd of December 2023, Parliament initiates a probe into the agreement and orders for the suspension of the deal. Then on the 2nd of January 2024, the President directs for an audit and also asks that the deal be suspended. And so that's the timeline, or that's how things have panned out over the last few days or weeks. But there are those, like I mentioned, who are raising concerns about the latest directive for an audit by KPMG. I'm going to start with the one right on your screens by Bright Simmons, who's Honorary Vice President of Imani Africa. He says that KPMG's practice oversight bosses should prudently preserve the firm's reputation and drop this assignment. This issue is a hot political potato right now. The nature of the allegations require an in-depth look by state bodies with the right powers and independence. KPMG has neither. That's Bright Simmons there. Then Benjamin Boache also made a comment in relation to this. KPMG has its integrity at stake if he accepts this job. It is a client of GRA, and its investigations against the leaders of one of the large portfolios is exceedingly suspicious, simply unethical. Then we know that the minority leader, Dr. Lotto as well, has been reacting to this amongst many other things. He says that the president, that's President Akufo-Addo's appointment of KPMG to audit the so-called revenue assurance agreement between the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, and Strategic Mobilization Limited, SML, has come too late in the day. He goes on to say a lot more, that Parliament has already directed the Finance Committee to audit the infamous agreement, and the committee is actively seized with the matter. And that the president, who should have led the fight in the wake of the scandal, is playing catch-up since Parliament has also directed GRA to suspend all payments to SML. Then lastly, he says that this whitewashing attempt by the president in the name of an audit will not dissuade Parliament from looking into this matter to stop the siphoning of state resources into private pockets of government officials and their crony business partners. So those are the reactions that have come through from civil society. We walked you through first, and then the minority in Parliament. Look, let's subject this to a bit more scrutiny. Former Auditor General Daniel Domelevo is joining us via Zoom this afternoon on this particular matter. Many thanks for speaking to us this afternoon. First off, what do you make of the president asking KPMG to audit this transaction within 2 weeks?
The reaction is that it is not necessary. It is a further wastage or waste of public funds, because there are several anti-corruption agencies in the country. First, we have the YOCO, we have the OSP, and if it's a matter of audit, we have the Ghana Audit Service, or the Office of the Auditor General. And if you read Article 187, Clause 8 of the Constitution, it says that in the national interest, the president, upon advice of the Council of State, may ask the Auditor General to conduct audits. So such audits can be done better by the Auditor General instead of the company KPMG that has been identified. So my initial reaction is that this is a further waste of public resources, which must be avoided, especially when the issue has been reported to the OSP, when the Parliament itself, through their Finance Committee, has indicated they are going to audit it. What is KPMG going to do, which is so new? Further public resources is going to be wasted. And I think the president must recall this contract, cancel it. It's not necessary.
But someone will say, should the president directing the auditing not be crucial in terms of demonstrating a commitment to dealing with a matter of major public concern like this?
But it must be noted that we are talking about the administration or the governance of the country. The institution with the highest authority to do audit in Ghana is the Office of the Auditor General. No other institution. And by law, they have established YOCO. By law, they have established OSP. So there are institutions already established. So why didn't the president direct the same request to the Auditor General or to YOCO or to OSP? And here's the case, even the Parliament has also taken it up, which to me, to be honest with you, even the Parliament coming in, I thought was not necessary. They should have just directed it to YOCO, or sorry, OSP, and say, OSP, investigate that. So the presidency coming in or Parliament coming in does not add any value to the finding that we are going to make. It is what we make out of the finding, which is important to the country.
Right. But
not who is ordering the audit.
Amidst all of this, though, there are other concerns being raised by CSOs about the potential conflict of interest situation in the fact that KPMG audits the books of the GRA. Is this a concern you share with?
Aware of KPMG having any contract with GRA, but assuming they have that, then I can see potential conflict of interest, because the gap between whatever they were doing for GRA and this one is not separated by any iron or metal walls. They may necessarily overlap because we are still talking about revenue. So I don't see it. In fact, when you are working for me and you are engaged again to come and audit me, by that itself brings about conflict of interest. So it doesn't even matter the type of service they are rendering. Once they are already clients of GRA, then that, to me, is a conflicted position.
Right.
But like I said earlier on, I'm not aware of any such contract. But if it does exist, then it's marks of conflict of interest. Yes.
Let's just stay with the concern you raised about Parliament as well. Should they be backing down now on this to allow the OSP and the Auditor General to handle this going forward?
Under the Audit Service Act, Parliament can request Auditor General to do an audit. So if they think it is necessary, they should send the request to the Auditor General and the report will come to Parliament. We will all see it. It will be a public document. We will all see what the report is. Again, if OSP is the one who they think is best suited to do the audit, Parliament can request OSP to do the same audit. Also under the OSP law, Parliament can refer cases to them to do the audit. Now we also have YOCO. So why do we create so many machineries to fight corruption? And now they are all being put aside, and then we are spending money either setting up a committee in Parliament or appointing a private firm to do this. You see, let me tell you something. Corruption as well as wastage all affect us equally. It doesn't make us get value for our money. So we must, as a country, avoid not only corruption, but wastage. And the presidency is becoming wasteful. They waste too much of our resources on things that are not necessary. Another question I would like to put to the office of the president is, what procurement method do they use in procuring the services of KPMG? You see, they describe them as if you notice, is it the reputable, not a reputable, but the reputable, meaning that they are the only reputable firms in the country. I dispute that. There are several other reputable tax consultancy firms in the country. Therefore, they are supposed to have gone through the procurement process, making it a competitive process. To exclude that, they describe KPMG as which is like they are the only one. Therefore, they went to them, throwing dust into our eyes. The presidency, I have said time and again, that it is sad that they are at the forefront of illegality in this country. They must be seen as obeying the rules and the laws of this country so that they can have the onus or the ground to be able to enforce the same law against the rest of us. But when they themselves flout all these laws with impunity, I don't think it is the best thing. So my advice is that the president should cancel that contract. He should ask YOCO, or he should ask Auditor General, or he should ask OSP to do the audit in line with the laws. Parliament should also stop this finance committee investigation, which is going to cost us so many sitting hours and allowances and whatnot if they are not doing it for on gratis, so that we can get the specialized institutions to do it. The report come to Parliament, and it is a public document. We can all see it. If they do a good work, we will all see it in the report. If they do a bad work, we will question the Auditor General or the OSP or whoever come out with this product. So, and if you look at the terms of reference, it's very ordinary. There's no speciality required in it. It's very ordinary. It's very basic. When I read the terms of reference, I was laughing. I said, this is what we are talking about, the reputable. We don't need the reputable to do this. Thank you.
Right then, and thank you as well. That's former Auditor General Daniel Domelevo speaking to us this afternoon. We're going for a break. When we return, we're live across the country where it's a big day for the many aspirants seeking to be faces of the NPP in the various constituencies across the country. Already allegations of some names being removed. We got all the details when we return. This is News Central.
Welcome back to News Central. Now, it's a big day for aspirants seeking to lead the governing NPP into the 2024 polls as voting takes off across the country. There are already concerns of a plot to disqualify some of the aspirants. We start off from Bimbila in the northern region, where teeming youth last night pitched camp at the party office demanding explanation on why one aspirant name had been omitted from the list. Christopher Mwako is there for us. He's joining us for more on this. Good afternoon to you, Christopher.
Good afternoon, Kemini.
Well, Christopher, what's the latest on this matter?
Yes, so as it stands now, some relative calm has been restored in the Bimbala constituency after yesterday's attack on the MPP party office by a cross-section of the youth who did not understand why one of the aspirants, one Ahmed Nuhu, Zaruk's name was omitted from the vetting list. But as we speak now, some calm has been restored. A press conference has also been held by the supporters of the aspirant whose name has been removed from the vetting list, and all they also calling for is calm as they use other alternative means to address their grievances.
But Christopher, do we know why his name was omitted?
As it stands now, there hasn't been any explanation whatsoever to that effect. We tried getting regional executives and the vetting committee to tell us why his name was omitted, but they are yet to respond to it. But they have given the indication that they will do so before the close of day, because Bimbala constituency is expected to be vetted tomorrow.
Notwithstanding, I'd like to believe that the process is going on in other parts of the northern region. Talk to us about how things are shaping up.
Yes, so the vetting started somewhere around 10, where the MP for Gushegu constituency, Hassan Tampuli, was the first to be vetted. Remember, in the northern region, there are 9 constituencies that are going to be going through this processes. So today, 5 of them will be going through the processes, and so far there are 3 of the aspirants going unopposed. That is the incumbent MPs. 3 of them are going unopposed. That is Gushegu, Karaga, and Tatali constituencies. Should the Bimbala issue be resolved and that the name will not be included again, then it means 4 of the constituencies will be going unopposed. But as of now, we know of 3. Tampuli has been speaking to the media, and let's take a listen to what he has been saying.
Right, Christopher, let's take a listen to that in a tad. But thank you for the report. As always, pleasure talking to you. Let's take a listen to that sound clip, and then from there, we'll head to the Ashanti region.
Well, it's a great feeling, as you can see. I have all my executives here. If we had permitted, I believe all the coordinators and all the 40 plus police station executives would have been here, just to affirm the fact that there is some work that has been done. And the ultimate responsibility of an MP is to be able to deliver on the promises that you have made to the people. And I believe that the people of Gushegu, the rank and file, strongly believe that we have done what we promised the people of Gushegu. And the anticipation is that where we have gotten to, the sky can only be the limit. So there's no need for us to rock the boats. That is why I believe that the people have, decided that I should contest unopposed for us to be able to consolidate on the unity of the party, for us to be able to take the party to the next level, and for us to be able to break the 8. Breaking the 8 this year, 2024, starts from Gushegu. So keep your eyes on Gushegu. When you hear the result from Gushegu, then you know that we have broken the 8 already. So
Hassan Tampuli there, most likely the PC for Gushegu as he goes unopposed. Let's go straight to the Ashanti region. About aspirants for about 23 constituencies are being vetted today in that region, which is also, as you very well know, the stronghold of the governing party NPP. Let's touch base with William Evans Inkum, who's joining us from there. William, I see activities behind you. My guess is it's really busy there, but you tell us what's going on.
It's a crescendo of noise coming in here at the party office. For this, one of the things that vetting is happening. I have 2 venues. One is about 5 or 6 kilometers away from here. That is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia campaign, where 6 constituencies are having the vetting. Come here at the Ashanti Regional Secretariat of the Unity Patriotic Party here. We talk about 17 constituencies have been declared here. So we have 23 constituencies have been declared today. Of course, tomorrow we're going to see the rest. In there, I'm talking about 18 constituencies. So we have 21 constituencies have been declared today and tomorrow. So I know you'll be wondering what happens with the rest of the constituencies. So 2 constituencies have been exempted from today and tomorrow's exercise. We're looking at the Formina constituency for obvious reasons. I'm sure you know why. That is the constituency of the independent candidate who splintered from the NPP going into the 2020 parliamentary or general election, if you want to put it that way. And of course, we have the Kumiri constituency, NSC Awanim. Last year, the former member of parliament, who is now late, so he called for a by-election. NSC Awanim is now the parliamentary candidate. And by virtue of the party's guidelines, he will walk through, and for that matter, we can establish that he is the parliamentary candidate for the NPP during the 2024 parliamentary election. So a good number of the constituencies here have gone through the process. We're still waiting for the Afano Southeast to go through the process. And of course, Roy Aunti and his team will definitely also be joining the project pretty soon. But we've been speaking with some of the aspirants who just went through the process, and beginning with the Deputy Defense Minister. Let's listen to them, what they have to say.
It went so well. This is a family issue. It went so well. We just, for me, we went to have a family conversation. So it was a normal thing. But I believe sincerely and strongly that I have served my people very well. I have done whatever there is that I need to do. And given the opportunity, I will continue to serve them.
I'm confident because of what I have done on the ground and what I know. I've been with the people for some time now. I was the first vice chairman, I was the chairman. I ran for this election last 4 years, I didn't win. But this time around, even those who didn't vote for me called me secretly and confirmed that they did a mistake the last time around.
Well, Evans, I want us to quickly chat about Swami, the constituency for the majority leader who is retiring from Parliament, at least for the 2024 period or elections. How are things shaping up there?
Well, it's going to be a very close contest as far as, January 27th parliamentary, or if you like, primaries of the NPP is concerned. So we're looking at 4 people who are vying to replace the majority leader. We're looking at Jordako, who is not new in the race. Jordako contested Oseche Mensah-Bonsu in the 2015 parliamentary election. Unfortunately, he didn't win. 2020, Oseche Mensah-Bonsu went unopposed. Then we're also talking about Maxwell Ofosu-Boakye, who is currently the MCE for Swami constituency. Of course, I'm a former aide to Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, is also very much well in the competition. They're also talking about Pius Echampo. Pius Echampo is currently the secretary for the constituency secretary, and also contesting, of course, Osei Edubofo. So these are the 4 names that have popped up, or who have availed themselves to take over from Oseche Mensah-Bonsu. But obviously, it's going to be a keenly contested competition between 2 of the most talked about aspirants. We're talking about the current MC for Swami municipality, Maxwell Ofosu-Boakye, and of course, the John Dako, who is a lecturer at Jempa Faculty of Law and Entrepreneur, environmentalist, and somebody who's also well vexed as far as this kind of competition is concerned. So these are the people that it looks like the spot is going to be on. But the big question is, who gets the nod? Coming in, I think your gets as good as mine. We can only wait for January 27th.
We'll wait and see. Thank you so much, Evans. Evans Inkum there. He joined us from the Ashanti region, where vetting is going on in about 23 constituencies there. He tells us that 2 of those, however, are on hold. But there's more on the vetting of the NPP PC aspirants across the country. Now we're in the Greater Accra region. Now, what's happening here?
In the Greater Accra region, Judith Brown is monitoring the situation here. Is joining us with a bit more details as well. Judith, we understand 1 person has been disqualified here in Accra. What are the details?
Well, I'm currently at the shelter, and this is where aspiring MPs as well as sitting MPs for the MPP are being vetted currently here. For now, about 6 constituencies or 7 of them are going to go through the vetting process. We know that this includes Okaikwe South, Okaikwe Central. We also have Dom Kabinyan. We've already seen Mike Okwe Jr. entering the premises for his vetting process. This also includes some other constituencies. We're told that Ayawaso West Wogan has been put on hold as a result of some internal issues. I've been speaking to the General Secretary for the Greater Accra region, and he's been telling me that, of course, apart from other issues of where some MPs have been qualified, the Ayawaso West Wogan constituency has been put on hold. Also, a person or an aspirant from the Okaikwe South constituency had been disqualified earlier as a result of some issues. This is what he has been saying when I interviewed.
It went so well.
Right.
So far, in Aunti Central, there has been a disqualification there. The gentleman agreed to it because he picked the nomination the very day we were closing nomination. So he filed it 3 days after the close of nomination. And even doing that, he jumped the constituency, jumped the region, and then did that at the national level. And by law, the rules that we set out, we said that when you go to the constituency and you want to get a form and they don't give you, you move to the region before the national. All these things he didn't do them straight away to the national party to file his nomination. Based on that, we think it is not proper. If it happened like that, to create confusion at the constituency level. So we ask that he should understand that if he's sitting in the regional officer's seat, you only accept somebody they don't know, number one. Number two, somebody who has jumped to the national level without any recourse to the constituency and the region. Will it be competent? I said no. So based on that, and then again, his dues. For the past 2 years, he hasn't paid dues. He was finding it difficult recognizing regional officers, national officers, and constituency. So clearly, he's a young man who has ambition. We've encouraged him that, look, my brother, don't go anywhere. The constituency executive will be working with you in future when you want to be an MP. As I'm studying you, I want to be an MP, but I'm taking my time because I feel there's more time for me.
Right. So lastly, what's your word to all the aspirants that are coming for election?
Thank you very much. My advice is that this is an internal election. We have a fierce contest in 2024. They shouldn't look at their interests. They should look at the larger interests of the NPP breaking the eight. So the advice is that they shouldn't bring in people that will come to create confusion and hate. This is more an interview. When you are going for an interview, you don't take your house people to interview. You only go alone. In the room, you are permitted to come with one person, either your wife or your campaign manager, and that's all. So then there's no need for you to go and organize. That if you don't take care, we'll see two parties fighting here. So our advice is that when they are coming, the euphoria around it makes it nice. So when they are coming, they can bring people, but they should bring people who can comport themselves. People who...
As the Greater Accra Regional Secretary of the governing New Patriotic Party, I had to speak to my colleague Judith Brown. When we return from this break, back on the front burner, a mass exodus of Ghanaian teachers out of the country. We'll get into the details if you stay with us here on News Central.
Happy to see you're still here with us on News Central. Now, some Lotto operators have vehemently kicked against a move by government to introduce a 10% tax on Lotto winnings. The operators say the tax will worsen their businesses, which is at the verge of collapse. Grace Hamwajima joins us via Zoom with more on this. Good afternoon, Grace. What have these operators been telling you?
So I am currently here at the area that is close to the National Lotteries Authority, the area between the Art Center and then the Tama Station, which this area is known for the number of Lotto kiosks or Lotto operators that you can find when you come here. So I have been speaking with some of these operators, and what they tell me is that this introduction of a 10% tax by government is unheard of. they have been in the most of them, especially one lady I spoke with, Madam Comfort Mingle, tells me that she has been in the business for over 30 years and she has not seen any government introduce a tax on lotteries before. And so if government wants to introduce a tax on lotteries, they believe that a lot of consultation should have been had before the introduction of the tax. We can listen to Madam Comfort.
Right, let's take a listen to that, and then we'll come back to the conversation on what they intend to do. Grace.
Just a human boom. Mimi Bemo 1990. How many years now? I did a pension soon. You see, they say in the Wapami ewi. A human who are 20 years. It is say in the Akaya, you can say you come. You better. That's 10% in the PM be track a band. Because say a bank one the idea or try no dear or bow, then your point at 10%. Now, before no better that.
Grace, it would appear that Madam Comfort had no idea this law had only been on hold for the last 6 months, but it started, a very long time ago, at least a year now for those in the betting industry. But she talks about how if this is instituted as planned, it will kick them out of a business she started a very long time ago in the 1990s. But Grace, tell us a bit more about what they intend to do as operators.
So these operators are telling me that they wait to see how the implementation of this revenue measure will be. But if they see it, or as they see it as a measure that will collapse their business. And so in the very short term, we might not be seeing most of them operating before, because they even complain that winnings these days in the business is very difficult to come by, and their remuneration is based on the number of winnings and commissions that you get. And so if the introduction of this 10% will affect the number of people who come to stick with them, then they might as well leave their business, because they cannot be coming to work, sit here the whole day, and nobody comes to stick with them, which also determines how much they make in a day.
Indeed, Grace, thank you very much for that report. Now, if you heard me shout antimony, that's only because we have news coming your way.
Exactly, Kemeni, and not so great news, because scores of Muslims today gathered at the Ghana Police Mosque at cantonments to bid a heartfelt farewell to the late Aunti Imoru Muniratu, affectionately known as Aunti Muni. Renowned for the perpetual long queues at her iconic Watcher joint, she passed away after a brief illness at the University of Ghana Medical Center, UGMC, earlier today. Draped in a cloth, prayers were offered in her memory at the mosque, and her mortal remains have been dispatched to the airport, where she will be flown to the northern regional capital, Tamale, for the concluding rites. Let's connect with Godwin Asidiba, who's in the area right now for us. Godwin, talk to us what the mood is like there as you saw it all today.
It was actually a heartbreaking scene at the Cantonment Police Mosque, somewhere in Cantonment, where there were prayers held for the remains of Aunti Muni. And finally, just barely about 5 minutes of the prayer ceremony, the remains were conveyed to the Kotoka International Airport, where it will be flown to the northern regional capital, Tamale, where the final funeral rites and burial will be taking place. But we cannot talk about the funeral itself without focusing on the reason why we do know Aunti Muni. Here I am here at Labone, standing at Aunti Muni's Watcher joint, as you can rightly see, and the once bustling place with queues that stretch longer now look so deserted. Now it's a sober scene and a culinary ghost town, just as you can see, Mawena. I'm sure you can tell. The only queue left here is the one formed by memories of those flavorful Watcher days. And if you've been able to taste her Watcher, Mawena, I'm sure you can clearly tell that if it is not the best, it is one of the best that we have here in Accra. And that is why a lot of people continue to talk about her when she was alive and the flavorful wake that she prepares for us. It's so quiet here that you can only hear the nostalgia echoing on the empty spaces, reminiscing about the times that we used to come here to eat the wache. And just as you can see, at this particular spot where people would always have to queue, it is locked up totally. At this particular point where the food is always being prepared to, it's virtually empty with no one around.
Right then, Godwin, many thanks for providing those details there for us. That's my colleague Godwin Asiriba. But we'll end with teachers, because at least 8 out of 10 trained teachers would leave the shores of Ghana and render their services abroad if given the opportunity. For most of these teachers, poor working conditions and flat-out disrespect for them leave them with no choice but to migrate for better remuneration. If nothing is done about this, Education Watchers fear there could be a crisis on hand. As public pre-tertiary educational institutions resume from their break, Ibrahim Abubakar has been assessing the impact of the mass exodus of teachers from Ghana.
As of October 2023, as many as 10,000 teachers in the country had left to teach in developed countries. This figure, disclosed by the National Teaching Council, may even be more.
The mass exodus of our teachers outside the country has not been captured as it is now. The number is increasing by the day. As at October, we know of 10,000 that are left. That is accounted for. And for those who did not pass through our borders, we could hardly put a figure on. So after October, those who have left, we cannot account them for.
But for financial constraints, Abubakar Bansi would have joined his colleagues who recently traveled to the United Kingdom to render their teaching services. The father of 3 has been in the teaching profession for more than 2 decades and currently teaches at the Armed Forces Senior High Technical in Kumasi.
There's reason we are many. So if you are many, people are going. What's the worry? As I'm standing now, because of money, I would have gone. Because if I should go, the education of my children, I can cater for my children. I have to eat a better medicine. Now, if a stranger comes to my, in fact, common food, I'm afraid. I'm praying that he should go ill as ill because the condition of life is not easy.
A few weeks after writing her licentiate exams, Priscilla went for a recommendation letter to aid in a process of traveling abroad. The 25-year-old is of the view that the teaching profession is not respected in Ghana.
In our country, Ghana, they devalue teachers. When I travel to other countries, though, they put value on teachers, so they will increase my salary. So why should I stay in Ghana? I have to leave the country for a better place.
Although Ghana is battling with a teacher shortage, most trained teachers are planning to travel abroad in search of better conditions of service. Firdaus is in her second year as a teacher trainee, but has already made up her mind to leave the country after she graduates. To her, the condition of service for the Ghanaian teacher is not encouraging and enticing enough.
If I have any chance, then I'm going. There are lots of students in Ghana, a lot of students. Some are even completing without getting jobs. So me leaving is not going to make anything for short. There are lots of students.
The high attrition rate in the education sector poses a threat to the future of the nation's education and development.
You have very qualified teachers who are leaving the shores. You have teachers over the time who have been at the grassroots, have come to understand the nuances. Apart from the academic work, the morality of our students today, what we need to impact, what measures to use to curb certain behaviors. Now, it is the bulk of these teachers that are leaving the shores of the country. And when that happens, education tends to suffer. The conditions are not just favorable. And the teacher today is worse off than before.
At a recent graduation ceremony at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, the Asantehene Otumfuo Osei Tutu II also raised concern over the mass exodus of professionals from Ghana.
It is without a doubt a disheartening spectacle to bear witness to a substantial exodus of our health professionals, teachers, and graduates, all departing our shores in pursuit of more promising opportunities abroad. While it is important to acknowledge that human migration is not inherently negative, it is equally crucial to recognize that if this phenomenon remains unchecked, it poses a huge threat to the future of our nation. We must collectively work to transform our country into an enticing and compelling destination for our youth, a place where they have unshaken faith in their capacity to thrive and succeed.
That's the Asantehene Otumfuo Osei Tutu ending that report by Ibrahim Abubakar. And the conversation we've been having is that, which profession can you argue strongly that if you step out, you're not going to get higher pay or...
Well, you may get a comfortable life, and I hope our leaders, are listening and are watching and are doing something critically about it.
Most definitely. That's our bulletin for you this afternoon. I am Mawin Agbeka.
And I am Kamini Amano. We'll be back here with a Thursday edition tomorrow. Don't go away. I got that right. Thursday.